Hello and welcome, this is Edoreld in a brand new mod spotlight. Today I will be taking a look at RedLogic, a mod by Imnibis that adds logic gates to the game, and it also adds a replacement for Redstone. So let's get started taking a look at RedLogic. Alright, so first of all we've got red alloy wire, which is a replacement for vanilla redstone, which is crafted like this. Red alloy wire can be placed not only on the ground like vanilla redstone, but also on walls and on ceilings, and it looks like this when it's off, and when you turn it on it will look like this. Now red alloy wire is able to take a signal from vanilla sources, but it won't transmit to vanilla redstone. And that's red alloy wire. Let's take a look at gates. Before we get started with gates, let's take a look at the screwdriver, which is crafted like this, and it's what you're gonna use to rotate and flip your gates, so keep that tool in mind. Now what are gates exactly? Well, they're one block devices that kind of look like that, and that allow you to have some specific redstone behavior. To get started, let's take a look at the AND gate, which is crafted like that. And the AND gate, when you place it in the world, it's gonna look like that. It's gonna have three torches here, which are the inputs, and the left torch corresponds to the left, middle torch to the bottom, and right torch to the right, and the lonely torch right here corresponds to the output, and it's this wire right here. And the AND gate will emit a redstone signal from the output side if all of the inputs are on. And whenever I turn a side, whenever I input a redstone signal from one side, the torch that corresponds to the side is gonna turn off again, and once I turn all the inputs on, the output is gonna be on. Now if you wanna only use certain inputs, you can use the screwdriver by shift right clicking, and that's gonna turn some inputs off. So for example, this input right here is no longer gonna work, and it's only gonna pay attention to the inputs right here. And you can keep shift right clicking to find the combination that's most suitable to whatever situation you're in. You can also right click with the screwdriver to rotate the AND gate. Next gate we've got is the OR gate. The OR gate is crafted like that, and how it works is if well, when you place it in the world, it's gonna look like this, and it's gonna have three inputs, and then the output side, which is connected to the redstone torch here. And if any of the inputs is on, or all inputs are on, then the output is gonna be on. And if I turn them all on, it should also stay on. And of course you can also shift right click to turn certain inputs on and off. And that's the OR gate. Next up we've got the NOT gate. The NOT gate is crafted like this, and it will basically have three output sides that look like this, and an input side that's more straight. And this gate, it's gonna take the input and it's gonna reverse it and output it into the three output sides. So right now, since I'm not outputting anything, it's gonna reverse that and output something. If I were to input a redstone signal, it's gonna start outputting nothing. And that's how the NOT gate works. Next up we've got the RS latch. The RS latch is crafted like that, and it has two inputs which look like this, and two outputs where the torches are. When you emit a redstone signal on one input, it's gonna start outputting a redstone signal from the side you're inputting, and also from one of the redstone torches. And if you input from the other side, it's gonna reverse that, and it's gonna output from the side you input it into and the other redstone torch. If you were to turn both on, then it's kind of gonna get blocked and not output from any of the output sides until you decide to turn off one of the inputs. And that's how the RS latch works. Next up we've got the T-latch, crafted like that. The T-latch is missing a lever. There should be a lever here, but it's still functional. You can actually toggle the lever even if there isn't one there yet. And what it does is it's got two outputs corresponding to the sides where the redstone torches are, so the right here and left here. And if you turn the lever, it's gonna change that output. You can also change the output by emitting a redstone signal from one of the sides that is not outputting from. So from the top or from the bottom in this case. And if there were a lever here, it would change the orientation of the lever. So that's the toggle latch. Next up we've got the NOR gate, which is exactly the opposite of the OR gate. So instead of turning on when any of the inputs are on or all inputs are on, it's gonna turn on the output side, which looks like this, if all of the inputs are off. So if I turn any of the inputs on, it's gonna stop outputting a redstone signal. But when all the inputs are off, then it's gonna output a signal. And it's crafted like this. Alright, next gate is the NAND gate, which is exactly the opposite of the AND gate, and will emit a redstone signal if either all inputs are off or some inputs are off. So if two inputs are on and one input is off, then it will be on, but as soon as I turn all inputs on, it's gonna stop outputting a signal. And you can change the inputs with the screwdriver. Next up, we've got this gate called XOR Gate. The XOR gate looks like this, a little bit complicated perhaps. It has an output side, which is here. It has two input sides on the left and on the right, and this side doesn't do anything. It's only on the output side if one of the signals of the input signals is on, and only one. So if I turn this one on, the output is on, but if I turn both of them on, the output is off. And if I turn only this on, the output is off, and if they're all both off, then the output is off. So that's the XOR gate. And complementing that is the XNOR Gate. Oh, by the way, you craft the XOR gate like this, and the XNOR gate like that, and the NAND gate like that. The XNOR gate works similarly to the XOR gate, except for it will only the output will only be on if both signals are the same. So if both signals are off, output is on. If one of the signals is on and the other one is off, output is off. Same with the other side, and if both signals are on, then the output is on. And that's how the XNOR gate works. Now let's move on to the buffer gate. The buffer gate is pretty simple, and it's also crafted like that. Basically, it has an input side right here and three output sides, and it's gonna emit from the three output sides only if it receives a redstone signal from the input side. Pretty simple, that's how it works. Next up we've got the multiplexer, which is crafted like this. The multiplexer has one output side right here, two input sides, and one control side. Basically, the control side determines which input is gonna generate an output. So right now the control side is off, right? So only this input will generate an output. If I try to emit a redstone signal on the other input, nothing will happen. However, if I turn the control side on, this input will no longer do anything, and the other input is the one that controls the output. So that's the multiplexer. Next gate is the Redstone Repeater, which is crafted like this. And you can use it as a vanilla redstone repeater with more values. In fact, it has 8 different values, and you can toggle them with a screwdriver by shift right clicking, and it goes from 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64 and 128 redstone ticks. So you can choose whichever one you want. And that's how the redstone repeater works. After those 128 ticks in this case, it's gonna emit a redstone signal for, again, 128 ticks. And that's about 13 seconds. So let's see if we can see that going on. Of course this is on because I've left the lever on. And after those 13 about seconds, it's gonna turn off again and wait for another redstone signal. There we go. Next gate is the timer. The timer is a pretty cool gate, and it's crafted like this. The timer has an interface. If you right click it with something that's not a screwdriver, you're gonna see a timer interval, and you can specify how much you want that to be. And basically every whatever amount of time you put here, this is gonna generate a redstone signal from all of its output sides, of which it has 3, which are this one, the torch here, and this one. And the other side is the control side. If that side is on, the timer is gonna stop and not gonna work. So that's the timer. Next up, we've got the counter. The counter is crafted like this, and it has 2 output sides where the redstone torches are, and it has an increment side, the +1, and the minus sign, which is the decrement sign. And this block has an interface that you can access by right clicking. Now you can specify here the maximum number to count to, the amount to increment by, and the amount to decrement by. And it will also tell you what the current count is. Now if you input a redstone signal from the increment side, it's gonna increment the count by the number that you put in here. So if we put 30, for example, and we emit a redstone signal, it's gonna increase it up to the maximum, and at the maximum it's gonna emit the redstone signal from the output side here. Now if we were to decrement it to the minimum, which is 0, it will, and of course you have to input a redstone signal from the decrement side, it will go to the other torch and emit a redstone signal from there. So that's how the counter works. Next up, we've got the gate here, which is kind of similar to a sequencer and to a timer. It's crafted like this, and it also has a graphical interface where you can specify a timer interval. And this is gonna determine how long the pointer is gonna take to go from one torch to the other. And every time it reaches one of the torches, there's gonna be a redstone signal outputted from that side. And that's how the sequencer works. Now over here we've got another gate called a pulse former, which is crafted like that. And the pulse former basically has one input side right here at the bottom, and it has an output side right here. And the pulse former is gonna emit one pulse, not a continuous signal, just a pulse whenever it receives a redstone signal from the bottom, so from its input side. So if we turn a redstone signal, you're gonna see the lamp light up for you know, 1/10 of a second or something like that. And yeah, that's because the pulse is emitting a really fast signal that does not stay on. And that's the pulse former. Next up, we've got the randomizer. The randomizer looks like this, and it's crafted so, and it has 3 output sides where the green torches are, and it has an input side. And when the input side is off, nothing's gonna happen, but when we turn on the input side, the randomizer is gonna start emitting random signals from its output sides. So it can emit any combination of these 3 torches, off and on. Next up, we've got the state cell. This is a really cool gate, which is crafted like this. And basically, it has an input side from the left. It has 2 output sides, right here and right here. And it also has a control side. When it has a graphical interface where you can specify a timer interval, so let's say like 3 seconds for example, and when it receives a redstone pulse from the left, from this side, it's gonna emit a redstone signal from this side that's gonna last as long as you put in the timer interval. And once the timer interval is has passed, then this is gonna turn off, and the state cell is gonna emit a redstone pulse from this side here. So let's see that in action. Alright, that signal should stay there for 3 seconds, after which this one is gonna emit a pulse, and then the whole system is gonna reset. That's how it works. However, there's the control side here, which controls whether the state cell is gonna work. So if we were to push the button while the signal is on, this is gonna stop. If we turn the lever off, this is gonna continue, but we can turn the lever on and the whole thing will stop. So that's how the control side works. Last but not least, we've got the Synchroniser. The Synchroniser is crafted like this, and these gates are RS latches, and the Synchroniser is able to store 2 signals which come from the input sides, which are to the right of this square here and to the left of this square here. Those are the input sides. It's got an output side up there where the redstone torch is, and the other side is for controlling it. Now, if you emit a redstone signal from one of the sides, it's gonna store the signal in the square here. Now, when the square is off, it means that a redstone signal has been applied at some point. If we store a redstone signal in both of the squares, the system is going to emit a redstone signal from the output side, and then it's gonna reset the system. So watch out for that redstone pulse up there. There you go. And now the system has reset to the original settings. Now, if I were to store a redstone signal on one of the sides, I can reset the whole system by emitting a redstone signal from the control side, just like that. And that's how the Synchroniser works. So that was a mod spotlight on RedLogic, a mod by Mnibis that adds gates to the game, but the mod author already has some development plans. He wants to add jacketed wire, computers, lamps, and all sorts of crazy cool stuff. So you should keep an eye out on the thread, of which there's a link in the description. I hope you enjoyed watching the spotlight, and I'll see you next time.